Hello everyone, this is Dr. K. Jagannayaki, Associate Professor, MBA Department, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering. Today I want to discuss about research design. See, for any researcher, research design helps like a guide. It tells us how to carry out research process. So that is the purpose of research design, and generally it is like a framework, you can say. It is a structure. See, it tells us how to implement a particular step in more efficient manner so that we can maintain accuracy. It also helps to guide the researcher. So, after completion of this particular topic, the learner can able to understand the structure of a research report. For example, if you are going to build a house, we need a blueprint. So with the help of blueprint, we can have some idea what will be the structure of a particular building or particular house. So in the same manner, even the learner can also understand right from the beginning, that is the first step of the research, about the problem statement, then how to collect the data, how to involve in various review of literatures, and how to decide a sample, and what type of statistical methods we have to use to analyze the data. Everything we can find out with the help of a research design. So it is mapped with the first CO, develop the understanding of basic framework. So the entire research process, it gives some solutions to the business people so that they can easily find out or solve the complex problems in the most simplest manner. So coming to the meaning of research design, as I told you, it is a structure or framework. So why it is necessary? What happens with the help of research design? See, you can able to plan the things, how to do a particular survey. See what type of the problem is. So basing on that, we'll analyze the study. So it is basically divides into four components. The first one is sample design. See, what do you mean by sample? Sample is a small part of the population. So it is not possible to cover the complete enumeration. Even the investigator also face lot of difficulty in the collection of data. So that is the reason, to avoid unambiguity, the researcher will do that. He used to take the same or some part from the homogeneous group. So it tells us what type of sampling methods we have to adapt, whether we have to follow the simple random sampling technique or else non-random techniques. So that relates with the nature of the study. And second, we can able to design the observations. So how you want to observe, whether you want to be part of the group or else you want to isolate from the group. But somehow we need to observe the things, and that should be analyzed by using various observational techniques so that we can decide with the help of research design. Then another thing, it suggests the investigator what is the appropriate statistical tool that is related to the existing study. So whether we have to go with parametric test or non-parametric test, and how to formulate the hypothesis. So all these things concerned with research design. Then coming to operational design. So under operational design, we it is talks about the data collection methods, how you are going to collect the data. Because in order to solve the problem, we need some information. So that information we used to collect from the different sources, like primary sources, secondary sources. So everything we used to plan according to the research design. Then the research design in general, how we used to define means, it is like a conceptual structure. So in this conceptual structure, we used to discuss about various concepts, theories, and sometimes we also consider the enumerated subject matters like we used to collect the data from journals, some other magazines, some websites. So different way we used to collect the information. So everything comes under conceptual structure. So within which the research is carried out. So it seems like the blueprint for the collection, measurement, and analysis of data. So collection, it is all about, as I told you, we have two types of data resources. One is primary, another one is secondary. Whereas coming to measurement, so we need to measure some scales. So what type of scales that are you going to use under research means we used to have nominal scale, ordinal scale, ratio scale, interval scale. So these scales should be measured by using various methods, like sometimes Likert scale we will use, sometimes we'll apply ratio scales. In some other cases, we'll go with sociogram scales. There are different types of scales used to measure the variables or whatever items we used to consider under the study. And then the collected data should be organized in a proper manner. Then the data should be analyzed by using various statistical tools. So, in simple terms, if you want to say about research design, it includes WH type of questions like what to do, where to do, when to do, how much we need to consider, and what are the means of data collection, and how to conduct a survey. So everything they constitute together as a research design. So in brief, a research design, it consists of a clear statement of the research problem. So if you can remember the research process, the first and foremost step is problem identification. So first of all, we need to formulate the problem. If you have problem, then only we can able to do the research. We can able to conduct a pilot study or a main study. So the research problems should be in a clear cut manner so that it should be precise and easily understood by the people. And second one is we used to discuss about the procedures and techniques that are used in the data collection. And third one is like population to be studied. So which is part of sample and sampling, and how we are going to select a particular sample from the population. And we also discussed like what is the sample frame. So is there any constraints in the selection of a sample, and what is the size of your sample. So everything included in the population to be studied, whether you are going to study a single unit or you are going to consider more than one unit. So all these things we used to discuss under sampling design. And next one is the methods that are to be used in processing and analyzing the data. So what type of methods you are going to apply in the data analysis, that also matters a lot. So all these things involved are included in the research design. Then what is the necessity of research design? Why we have to develop a plan? Why should we have a structure or a framework? So with the help of this research design, one can facilitate the smooth sailing of research operations. It means that if you have like a blueprint or a plan, so you can able to go in a most structured manner. And it also helps the researcher to organize his ideas in a form. So whatever ideas he used to have, so that should be organized in a proper manner. So sometimes he used to discuss with other people, and sometimes we used to discuss with the experts. All these things he used to collect, and that data should be organized in a proper manner, and based on that he'll continue his journey in the research. Then what are the features of a good research design? So first of all, a research design should be like that. It should be flexible. So what do you mean by flexibility? Whenever we want, as per our convenience, whether it can be able to support the purpose of the research or not. In such case, wherever necessary, we can able to make some changes in the research design. So that is known as flexibility. And it should be appropriate and efficient and economical. See, developing a research design, it involves a lot of cost, and it is related to so many things. So it should be efficient, and the cost of developing a research plan should be less when you are going to compare, because we need to invest so much amount in the research process. Then the design which minimizes bias. See, that is another thing. There should not be any sort of deviations or variations in the design. So it should able to minimize the bias, and also the research design should be like that it can maximize the reliability of the data. Whatever data we are going to collect, that should be reliable, because we have to collect the original data, and there should not be any sort of unambiguous things applicable in the research, and that data should be analyzed. Then it is known as a good research design. So a research design appropriate for a particular research problem, generally it involves the means of obtaining information. So means of obtaining information means how you are going to collect the data. Then the skills of the researcher and his staff also very essential, because basing on the ability or efficiency of the researcher only, we can able to get reliable and a valid research solution. So in that case, we used to have the knowledge about a particular subject is mandatory for the principal investigator as well as other members who is going to support in his research journey. And the objective of the problem to be studied. So we can able to define the objective very clearly. Just by looking into your objective, one can understand what type of study you are going to deal with. Then the nature of the problem to be studied, whether it is a qualitative research or it is a quantitative research, whether it is fall under the category of exploratory research or diagnostic research or descriptive research. So everything we need to specify in the research design. And the availability of time and money for the research work. Just simply you cannot conduct a research survey. You need to involve in the research activity, and for that we need sufficient time, not only time but money also an important resource in the research process. So if you have all these things, then we used to say these are the characteristics of a good research design. Then how generally we used to categorize research designs. So research designs are based on the type of research, the nature of the problem, whether it is exploratory or else a descriptive or diagnostic type of research or hypothesis testing. So basing on that, we used to have different types of research designs. It depends on the nature of the problem. Then when you are talking about exploratory research, so it is known as formulative. So where we can have a survey. So what type of things we are going to consider under exploratory research studies? One is like we used to rely on literature review. Again, it depends whether you are depending on the concepts and theories or else you are depending on other persons who already done research in the relevant area. So some sort of inputs we used to get by using different types of review of literature sources. And the experience survey. See, experience survey means the people who will have sound knowledge, they have expertise in that relevant area. From them, we'll take some inputs about the specific topic, whatever you have chosen for the study. So those expert people, they will provide a lot of information. They will guide us whether you are going in a right manner or not. So based on their experience, they will provide a lot of information, and that is helpful to us to carry out our research in most efficient manner. And Next one is the analysis of insight stimulating examples. So again, it depends what type of study you are dealing with. So basing on that, we'll select different types of research designs. Then coming to descriptive and diagnostic research. Descriptive research is that we know already, we used to describe about a particular object or about a particular situation. So for that, the research design may vary because it is always concerned with some attributes which is fall under the category of qualitative research. Then next one is hypothesis testing research studies. Hypothesis again, it is an assumption. So your entire study, it is based on some proposition. So where we used to formulate the working hypothesis, and that has to be tested by using various statistical tools and techniques. Then, what is the difference between exploratory research studies and the descriptive or diagnostic research designs? So, coming to overall design, in case of exploratory research design, it is always flexible design. So, what do you mean by flexibility? So, we can able to study multiple aspects rather than one single aspect. So you can able to study from not only from your perspective, but we also consider other people's opinion. So that is known as exploratory or formulative research studies. Then coming to descriptive or diagnostic research, rigid design. Rigid means like constant, no change. So this design must enough provision for protection against and must maximize reliability. So as you are not going to depends on others, and whatever said by you, that will be the final thing, so that we can have some sort of protection against bias, and there should not be any uh, like uh, you can say that sometimes people may try to mislead you. That may not happen in case of descriptive or diagnostic research. So that's how we used to maximize reliability in case of descriptive or diagnostic type of research designs. Then coming to the sample design, in case of exploratory research studies, we'll use non-probability sampling design. So basically, in that case, we out of some purpose only we are going to carry out the research study. So there we can able to use purposive sampling techniques, or sometimes it is based on like judgment sampling. People they used to judge your study or your performance. So in this case, one can use purposive sampling or they may use judgment sampling. Whereas coming to descriptive or diagnostic type of studies, probability sampling. So here exclusively we used to apply random sampling techniques. And coming to stratified design. So no pre-planned design for analysis. But whereas here, in case of descriptive, there will be a pre-plan. Accordingly, we used to analyze the data. Like it is well settled because already before going to conduct a survey, we'll have some sort of plan in case of descriptive or diagnostic type of studies. So accordingly, we used to proceed further. Then coming to observational design, in case of exploratory research survey, unstructured instruments for collection of data. So here also we used to conduct some sort of survey, but whatever questionnaire you are going to use for the data collection, those questions may not be in a systematic manner. So in case of exploratory research surveys, generally we used to find only unstructured instruments. But whereas coming to descriptive or diagnostic type of research studies, we used to consider only structured or well thought out instruments for collection of data. So both cases we are going to depend on survey method only. But the difference is that in case of exploratory research, we'll consider unstructured questionnaire, whereas in case of descriptive, we'll consider structured questionnaire. That is the only basic difference in terms of observational designs. Then coming to operational design. In case of exploratory research studies, no fixed decisions about the operational procedures, whereas that may happen in case of descriptive or diagnostic type of research studies. So always we need to have advanced decisions because you are already formulated one plan how to do the research, how to conduct the research further. So it is well defined. So that is the reason whatever operational design we used to have that we can see in case of descriptive or diagnostic type of research studies, not in case of exploratory research studies. Then what are the basic principles of experimental designs? See, the experimental designs will have three types of principles. One is the principle of replication, another one is principle of randomization, and third one is principle of local control. So replication, it means repetition. So again and again, if you are going to conduct same type of survey or same type of experiments, so that is known as replication. So according to this principle, the experiment should be repeated more than once. For example, if you want to know two varieties of rice, so what in general we used to do? We used to divide the fertile land into two parts. In one part, that parts are known as blocks. In one block, you are going to use one variety of rice in another variety. So basing on the fertility of soil, even the productivity also varies from one block to another block. So continuously we used to repeat the same type of treatment more number of times so that we can increase the precision and the accuracy of the study, and the main effects and interactions can be estimated very easily with the help of the principle of replication. So just we want to find out whether it is the fault of the seed or else it is the fault of the soil fertility. So what is the real root cause for the low productivity of rice? So that should be analyzed with the help of principle of replication. The next one is the principle of randomization. So in this case, we can have protection against the effect of extraneous factors by randomization. See, extraneous factors are that they are independent variables, but they never include in the purpose of the study, but still they may affect the dependent variable. So here, what is the dependent variable? The productivity is the dependent variable. So it depends on the soil fertility. So that is known as randomization. So in case of randomization, we'll divide a land into different parts, into various small parts. So each part is known as a block. So different blocks chosen for the study, and they used to test the soil fertility just by uh, giving the inputs like two varieties of rice. They can consider more number of seeds, and that should be grown in different blocks, and basing on that we used to compare, is there any difference among the blocks, or is there any difference between and among the seed quality. So to study this type of effect, here we are going to apply two-way ANOVA so that we can understand three things. One is about the treatment, another one is extraneous variables, whether its impact will be there or not, and finally the error, how much error will be there between these three factors. So that should be studied under the principle of randomization. Then next one is like principle of local control. So what is the purpose of using this principle of local control? Say here we can eliminate the variability due to extraneous factors. So in this example, if you are going to study the productivity and its effect of two varieties of rice, so if there is a difference in the soil and no difference in terms of seed quality. Seed quality will be the same, but there is a difference. So that is the reason it causes variation in terms of productivity. So why it happens? What is the cause? And what will be the effect? So cause and effect relationship we can able to measure with the help of this principle. So whether this variation due to the soil fertility or due to the seed quality, what exactly it is, so that we can able to measure with the help of the principle of local control. Then experimental designs further categorized into two types. One is informal experimental design, another one is formal experimental design. So informal experimental designs, they used to divide further into three types. One is before and after without control design. Second one is after only with control design. And third one, before and after with control design. Whereas coming to formal experimental designs, they are further divided into four types: completely randomized design, randomized block design, Latin square design, and factorial designs. Then let us start with informal experimental design. So the first informal experimental design is that before and after without control design. So the before and after, so we are talking about two things. One is before the treatment and after the treatment. So if you want to find the effect of two varieties of rice, then how it will be before treatment and after using the seeds into different fields. So that and all we have to study, and that is possible in this case. So in this type of designs, a single test group or area is selected. So we are not going to select more than one area, right? So we used to consider only one single test group, and there will be one dependent variable, and that should be measured before the introduction of treatment. So if you see this tabular form, the level of phenomena before treatment, let us take it is variable x, and after introducing the treatment, how the level of performance after treatment. So the difference between these two. So one is dependent, another one is independent variable. So how can we measure the treatment effect? Means level of perform phenomena after treatment minus level of phenomena before treatment. So in both cases we used to consider whether is there any significant impact between the seed variety and soil fertility before and after treatment. So that should be done with the help of informal experimental design. The first one before and after without control design. Then second one is after only control design. So in this case, we'll consider two groups or two areas. So these areas, out of which one is test area, another one is control area. So both are selected and the treatment is introduced into the test area only. So whatever treatment you are going to use, that should be introduced only in treatment area, not in control area. So the dependent variable is then measured in both areas at the same time. So at a time you are going to measure the performance of both areas. One is test area, another one is control area. So at it simultaneously we used to start the treatment in both areas, and then we can able to measure what will be the level of phenomena before treatment and after treatment. So the difference between these two, again, it leads to the treatment effect, whether you have a positive effect or a negative effect. That should be measured under after only control design with two test areas. Then next one is before and after with control design. Before and after with control design. So in this design, there are two areas selected, like how we have selected in case of previous, like after only with control design. So in this design also we used to select two areas. One is test area, another one is control area, and the dependent variable is measured in both the areas for an individual identical time period. So whatever time you are going to consider, it should be same for both areas before the treatment. Before the treatment. See here, if you see the test area, so as you are going to consider time period 1 and time period 2. Time period 1, again, it is applicable to two areas. One is test area, another one is control area. And coming to time period 2 also, that should be tested, introduced in both the areas. So the level of phenomena before treatment is known as X, that is related to test area, whereas coming to control area, the level of phenomena without treatment, which is known as A. And then we used to introduce the treatment, then we'll enter into time period 2 after introducing the treatment, where again we need to find out the levels of phenomena after treatment under test area and the level of phenomena without treatment under control area, which is denoted as Z. So how can we measure the effect? Treatment effect means the treatment effect should be measured. It is the difference between level of phenomena after treatment Y minus level of phenomena before treatment X. So here, if you observe, we have taken these two from test area. So just you want to measure the effect, how the performance will be before and after treatment. So that should be considered under test area. Then minus, now we have to take the difference between level of phenomena without treatment before using and after using treatment under control area. So like how we used to measure the treatment effect. Then coming to next type, completely randomized design. So it is based on the principles as we discussed. There are three types of principles. One is principle of replication, principle of randomization, and principle of local control. Whereas coming to completely randomized design, it involves only two principles. One is principle of replication and next one is the principle of randomization design. So replication means repeating the same experiment more number of times. That is known as principle of replication. And whereas randomization means you are going to divide the treatment or test area into several blocks, subpoints. So in all blocks, we want to test what will be the effect of the particular extraneous factor, how much variation it causes if you are going to apply the same study in several blocks, so that we can able to measure with the help of completely randomized design. The next one is randomized block design. Randomized block design. So this is an improvement of this completely randomized design. So what is the difference? Why we are saying that there is an improvement? Because we are going to use another principle as well, in this case local control, and can be applied along with the other two principles of experimental design. So just it is an advanced version of CR design, where we are going to find three types of test. One is replication, another one we are using the principle of randomization, and also we can able to measure the variability with the help of local control, so that we can have effectiveness, and we can able to maintain the accuracy in your study. So that is possible with the help of these research designs. Now finally, I want to conclude that a research design, so after learning this particular topic, the learner can able to apply the research design, which includes sampling design and formulation of problem statement. He can able to understand thoroughly what will be the problem statement. And next one is he can plan the observational designs. And next he can able to apply various data collection methods and application of appropriate statistical tools to analyze the data. And finally, he can also able to draw inferences with the help of research designs. So just I want to discuss about observational design. So observation is one type of primary data source method where people generally they use to observe the things. So there are different types of observational methods. One is direct observation versus indirect. And second one is participant versus non-participant. So in case of direct or indirect type of observation, so sometimes the investigator he himself he will enter into the field and he used to interact directly with the concerned person so that he can get some sort of information. But he never asked any questions, but he used to observe, just being the part of the group. And sometimes he used to observe an individual. For example, whenever I want to say one simple example, interview. In case of interviews, in a panel of some 3 or 4 members, only one person he used to ask some questions to the interviewee, but there will be some other people they used to observe you whether you are how much confident you are in dealing with the particular exam like interview, and also your personality they can able to assess all these things done in a very silent manner just by observing the things. It is not necessary you have to ask some questions. Sometimes we may also discuss with each other they haven't asked any question, so it doesn't mean they haven't tested you. They used to test us by the way of observation, keep observing you, but finally they will give a feedback about you. So that is possible in case of observation. And indirect, so through somewhere, by not being the part of the group, you will be somewhere far away from the group and silently the investigator or enumerator they used to observe and how you are moving with the group, or you be part of the group or else you are isolating from the group. So every minute thing they used to observe. And participant or non-participant, so sometimes directly they used to participate and they will introduce himself, and just being the part of the group they used to observe the things, and sometimes They never be interactive. So there are different kinds of observations. So, but the ultimate aim of whatever may be the type of method you are going to use in order to collect the information, so that is related to the nature of the study. Nature of the study, nothing else. Then, so with this, I want to conclude this topic. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.